Children, welcome to the online classes. Children, today we are going to start a new lesson. Can you tell me what all things do you require to stay alive? Whether all of them are living or non-living? Well, if you think about it, you will come to know that we require both living as well as non-living things that are around us to stay alive. We depend on both living things and non-living things. We depend on plants, we depend on animals for our survival. And also plants and animals depend on each other, depend on human beings for their survival too. So, can you guess the name of the lesson that we are going to discuss? We are going to discuss lesson number 14, Interdependence in Nature. In this lesson, we are going to discuss about living things depend on non-living things like air, water, soil, sunlight. Plants and animals depend on each other. Animals depend on plant for food. Animals depend on plants for shelter. Animals depend on plants for oxygen. Plants use carbon dioxide produced by animals. Plants depend on animals for reproduction. That is for the production of a new plant. Living things make the soil fertile. And about food relationships. Children, you are quite aware of all these things as we have studied about it in the previous classes, right? But now we are going to discuss in detail about all these things. So children, we require sunlight, water, air, food, and temperature. These are the basic needs of a living organism. Now you are quite aware about food, water, sunlight and air. Right now we are going to discuss about temperature. Yes, we require a moderate temperature to survive. Not only human beings but also animals, plants, microorganisms all survive properly on a moderate temperature, that is not too high nor too low. Okay, the other topics we are going to discuss in detail. Now, animals need oxygen from the air to breathe and water to drink. Plants need carbon dioxide, water and sunlight to prepare the food. Animals depend on plants for food and shelter. Many plants depend on animals for flower pollination and dispersal of their seeds and also the production of new plant. We are going to discuss these topics in detail now. Now the first thing is, what is interdependence? Interdependence means depending on each other. Interdependence is the relationship between two or more living things where each one benefits from the other. Now children, the environment, plant and animals, they depend on each other, right? The plants depend on animals, the animals depend on environment. So in this way, there is an interdependence between all these things. That is a relation which mutually benefits either plant or animals and environment all. Now there are two things found in the environment, that are living things and non-living things, which are also known as biotic and abiotic things. Now living things means biotic factors of the environment and non-living things are the abiotic factors of the environment. Living things have plants, animals, and non-living things comprise of soil, water, air, sunlight. Now children, you know very well that we have already discussed in the previous classes about the air, right? We require air, all the animals require air, even plants require air for the survival. Now we will discuss how. You know that we have to breathe to stay alive. We cannot stop breathing even for some time. So, and breathing means we take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. That is exchange of gases. And we take oxygen from the environment, but which comes in the environment from the plants. Yes, you are also aware that the plants also breathe like human beings, like animals at the time of night, right? At the time of night, they also take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. But at the time of day, they do it the opposite. Yes, at the time of day, they perform the process of photosynthesis. And in the process of photosynthesis, oxygen is a byproduct. That means that oxygen is not the main product of photosynthesis. While making their own food by the process of photosynthesis in the presence of water, sunlight and carbon dioxide, oxygen is released. And this oxygen is used by human beings. The oxygen is used by animals for breathing. In this way, animals, human beings depend on plants for oxygen and plants depend on carbon dioxide released by animals and human beings for the process of photosynthesis. Now the next one is water. Children, as you can see, we all require water. Human beings require water. Water is also required by animals and also plants. Now human beings and animals require water as they drink water, right? 2/3 of our body is water. That is 60% of human body contains water. 90% of our blood is water. Water is not one of the main nutrients that the body requires, but it is very important for the body. As water helps to maintain the temperature of the body, water is essential for many vital processes taking place in the body like digestion. Water also helps to cushion the organs and tissues by absorbing the shocks. In this way, water is important for our body. Also, the plants require water for the process of photosynthesis, which it absorbs from the roots. Yes, the roots of the plant absorb water from the soil. Now the next thing is soil. Children, we know that life on earth is not possible without the plants. And plants grow in the soil. Without soil, the plants cannot grow. Plants stand erect in the soil because roots of this plant hold the soil firmly to the ground, and plants absorb water and minerals from the soil. That's why soil is very important, because we know that all the animals directly or indirectly depend on plants for the food. Right? Either we eat the plants or we eat the animals who eat the plants. So, plants are very essential for our life, and the plants depend on soil for their growth. One more thing, that many animals like rats, rabbits, moles and many microorganisms with many insects, they make their home inside the soil. They live inside the soil. Soil is the home of many animals and microorganisms like the ant hill which you can see in the picture. Now one more thing is, when any animal or the plant dies, it decays and mixes with the soil. It becomes a part of the soil and it makes the soil fertile. How it happens, we will be discussing later in this chapter. Now the next one is sunlight. As already discussed, that the plants require sunlight for the process of photosynthesis. Without the sun, the photosynthesis cannot take place, because in photosynthesis itself means light. The plants make their own food in the presence of sunlight. Also, sunlight is important for the germination of seed, because it gives warmth which is required for the germination of seeds. Human beings also require sunlight for the survival, directly or indirectly. Now, plants and animals depend on each other. We have discussed that animal depends on plant for food and shelter, right? Animals get their food from the plants, that is herbivores who eat only plants, and there are carnivores who eat the herbivores. So directly or indirectly we depend on plants for our food. Plants are the primary producers of the food. Now children, plants also depend on animals for their pollination, that we will be discussing later. The scattering of seeds. You must have seen that the animals, the birds, they eat the fruits of the plant, and while in this process they scatter the seeds of the plants, which help in growing of the plant in various places and also growing of the plant away from the parent plant. And the animals or worms make the soil fertile. The worms help in making the soil fertile. Now plants depend on pollination. Nearly 90% of wild flowering plants need pollinators like bees to transfer pollen for successful reproduction. That is the production of a new plant. In turn, these plants are critical in functioning of ecosystems. They provide food, form habitats and provide a wide range of other resources for many animal species. Now plants need carbon dioxide produced by animals. The carbon dioxide that is produced by animals in the process of respiration is used by plants for making their food by the process of photosynthesis. And animals need oxygen to get energy from the food. Whatever food we eat, that food is burned inside the body, and that food is burned with the help of oxygen. Now next is plant-plant relationship. Children, the plants depend on another plant. For example, few plants which are, whose stems are tender, they depend on another plants for their survival because they take the support of the big plants to grow up or to go high. So the question is, do plants also help each other? The answer is yes, they do. Many climbers twin themselves around tall plants and reach the top to get more sunlight, because you know that sunlight is required for the survival, for the production of food. Orchids also perch themselves on tall trees to get sunlight. They do not harm the trees though. They have special roots that absorb moisture from the air. You know that the relationships are mutually beneficial. It benefits both the plants. Now the next one is animal-animal relationship. Children, you must have heard about the egrets or the birds that take a ride on the cattles. Now the birds get the benefit by taking the ride on the cattle, and the animals get benefited by the birds as the birds eats the insect from the animal's back which bother them. So this is all for today. I'm going to end this session here. I hope you enjoyed the session, children. Sai Ram.